So may the 4th be with you, huh? Today, everyone is celebrating the Star Wars and all that it has brought to the world. You know, again, when people say, may the force be with you, I feel like they're saying, may God be with you. I really have always loved Star Wars. Star Wars was introduced to me by my mother figure. She was a devoted fan, and she made all of us devoted fans because I feel like she didn't really have a childhood. So it's like she got a chance to relive the childhood that she really should have had with us by watching these different movies, getting the popcorn, cooking for the occasion. I have to say that although we didn't have the bond that I thought that we should have, looking at other people's families dynamics, you wonder. What I did enjoy is how she put herself into things. Like, okay, sometimes, if it was too hot. I remember in the Bronx, it was too hot. I remember going swimming at night, and it was only our family at this pool, which means that maybe it wasn't probably done, the ethical way, but we enjoyed ourselves. And sleeping out on a fire escape in the Bronx. People from New York know what I'm talking about. We just would, we'd lay out on a fire escape and get cool because you would still catch a bit of the wind just where our fire escape was located. It was like at the corner of the building. So you'd get the air coming from both directions, Star Wars, I always loved Yoda. I loved Yoda because Yoda was knowledgeable. Yoda was like my spiritual advisor. Like, just watching him and listening to every word that he said. He didn't waste his words, if you notice. And to me, he's like an old grandfather who would have only few words to use. And I have to relate him to my great-grandfather, my grandmother figure's father. I told you he would take us to the park. But he would walk past the regular parks, and he'd take us specifically to the nicest parks that he'd visited on his walks or by him going places. Because while we were at school, he was already retired at this time, and he would get to explore. So once he finished exploring, he'd come and get us, sometimes to keep us out of trouble and also to keep us out of harm's way, because we did have some relatives who were, not so nice to us. And he would take us and he'd walk us, and we'd walk, seems like sometimes for hours. But we'd be so tired when we got back and didn't even realize what he was doing. I guess he figured we would figure it out sooner or later. But by him having few words, I remember one time he told us, he said, we're getting ready to go. And when he finished saying what he said, he picked up his newspaper, put it under his arm, and we'd go walking. Again, I held on to his pinky because my whole hand could hold his pinky comfortably. And we'd go to the park. While at the park, we would play, but you always kept him in eye shot. You'd always keep him in eye shot because you knew once he said it's time to go, everyone wouldn't hear it because all the noise on the playground. But you knew that once he was gone, he was not turning back around. He taught you that you need to keep focus on your surroundings and understand what's going on and listen so you don't have to be told twice, because he wasn't going to speak 2 times. What I really found interesting is that every park that he took us to had a merry-go-round, and that was my favorite thing at the park. I really, of course, I'm making these mistakes because, of course, I'm excited with the story. And I'm so excited to even relive the moments, living vicariously through those memories, knowing that everyone had a position. All of my cousins had a position. That's when we all got along. We were with him. Because he didn't make anybody fight against each other. He didn't pin people against each other. He said, we're family. And that's all it is to it. And this being my family, I want to take them to places that they would feel comfortable. And I want to take them to places so that they know that they are important too. Those parks that were in our neighborhoods were not the nicest parks. Things were always missing. Somebody was always getting hurt because of certain things not being prepared, I'll say, not being fixed correctly. Sometimes the fixtures would break and nobody would fix them, and we would still play on them because this is what we had. When he took us to the park, we were able to really see what other parks look like. We were able to know that there is better than just our neighborhood. This is the reason why I always emphasize traveling. When you travel, even if it's in throughout your neighborhood and outside of where you directly live, you're getting to see the neighborhood. You're getting to see how other people live, and you're getting to see that, we might not all have the same things, but we all have the exposure to the same things. You can expose yourself to a better park, to a better museum, to a better environment. If you cannot always afford to live in a certain neighborhood, you can still explore the different neighborhoods. Perhaps what you're paying in your neighborhood, you could pay less somewhere else, but you would know unless you were focused on experiencing that, exposing yourself to more. This is one of the biggest mishaps, I think, or misconceptions, that we have when we don't explore. We think, oh, this is all there is. No, there's more. When I traveled to Canada, which is one of my favorite countries, I know I say other places sometimes, but recently, yesterday to be exact, when I went to this community festival, the woman was telling me about Canada because she has a lot of family there. And I just remembered my memories of driving throughout and noticing how Canada looks a lot like parts of Queens and Brooklyn to me. And when we venture out, we get to see, we get to know, we get to experience more. It's so important that we expose our children to more, that we don't just assume that, that this is the only thing that's out there, because there's so much more for us to experience, for us to expose our children to, and to expose ourselves to. Life is but a dream, as they say, right? But it's more than just a dream. We live a dream each day, if that's the case, and we can explore. Some of the buses don't run on Sundays, so you can't always get to where you want to go by bus. But perhaps you can explore by walking. Perhaps while you're on the bus or while you're driving, you can see where the shortcuts are, because the shortcuts will allow you to get there in the same time sometimes, because you don't realize, because you didn't explore. There sometimes are different experiences that we can have. Like I said before, I remember one time, where my ex and I, was raining outside, and we'd had all these plans. And I said, you know what? I went in and got a throw blanket and put it on the floor, and we acted as though we were outside right in the living room. You can do so much more when you use your imagination. So remember this. Remember that your imagination, just like Star Wars, George Lucas's imagination took him places, and he was able to invite us in to his imaginary world by incorporating what Star Wars actually was to him, allowing us to see more. Without Star Wars, there would not be an Avatar. Avatar is so beautiful too, right? Let us remember that we have been given a gift of life. In this gift of life, we can explore, we can do so many things. Life is not boring. It's only boring when you don't use your imagination. So be open to what you can do. Be open to exploring more, because you know why? Because it's so lovely being you. Have a wonderful day.